is what semester and year did you all experience AI, like in higher ed? What semester was it? Because I can tell you exactly which one it came up for me.
When we were in school or when we were teaching?
Teaching.
Okay.
And working in higher ed. What semester?
Are you talking AI as in ChatGPT or AI in general?
In general.
Oh, years ago.
Years ago. Okay. What else? Like, give me a, is it spring 21?
I'll go out there with it, summer 2024.
Summer of 2024. Okay. What else? What other? Just toss me out some years. I'm just trying to get a range of how we've all experienced it over the last few years. No? Fall of 23. Mine was in the fall of 21. We were still during COVID, right? So we've kind of seen this. I've seen it in multiple iterations, right? So I start with like kind of this evolution of AI in higher education, right? Did we experience it as students? Have we experienced it as staff or as faculty, and then developing the policies, right? So why I say I've experienced this in multiple ways, because currently when we're developing AI policy, it's falling into these three areas. Either it's being developed by a third party, which I don't think is great, and then in collaboration with peer institutions, studying our peers, how are they working with it, and our networks, and developing the policies and tailoring them to our own institutions, or professional associations are showing up, and instructor-specific, department-specific, or for specific classes, as our engineer professor stated, right? So this is how we're starting to see this policy show up. So I've been under all of those, where 2021 was an immediate institution telling us how we were gonna utilize AI in our classrooms. It was a flat, this is how it's gonna be. Then we kind of made those adjustments and really gave cases for why we need to make the justification by the class, by the discipline, and how it's changed. But what about if your institution doesn't have a policy? Kind of what is that guideline already? We all know it's falling under academic integrity, right? And we're calling back to that. So I'm giving you the pragmatic, I won't go into all of these today, about guidelines if you want to develop your own policy. Here at this institution, department that I'm currently teaching under gave it to us and said, here, utilize this for the syllabi. Beautiful, it made my job easy because I didn't have to go develop it, because that was the first thing I did, is said, I need to go develop this. So Duke actually has guidelines, and we know there's a ton of different institutions that have guidelines. I think this one's really great, and what they do share about creating guidelines for AI policies, draft your own policy first, and then that co-creation, as Denise has told us, bring the class into developing that within the first week. Share your rationale. Why are we doing it? How are we going to use it? How are we encouraging them? Support and encourage it. And then define the acceptable use. So we've heard all of our speakers today talk about all of these different things. And then explore the continuum of the policies, right? That's exactly, like, it's moving so quickly, and we know that we can adjust our policies even within the semester. So we need to express that to our students, that this is now a continuum, and we're adjusting as it's growing, developing, improving every single day. So is it that prohibited use, use only with prior permission, use only with acknowledgement, use is freely permitted with no acknowledgement, right? You can explicitly state these things and what that continuum is, and then define that for the students per the project, per the assignment, whatever that looks like. And let's see, how will AI change universities' roles and responsibilities? I tailored that to us. We had the question of our Nike presenter asking about how that is showing up and changing people's roles in a workplace. So, of course, I'm a former HR professional and professor of HR management. This is actually existing already in the field. It's been developing for the last 2 years, I can tell you that right now. And human resource professionals are actually utilizing it to write job descriptions, help write their own policies for their organizations. I'm working with my mentor from University of Iowa, who we've been testing it, help me career prep completely, even for interview prep as well, right? So these are things that we can start integrating into all of our departments, and I just give you some of those examples of what are there. So HR is also learning how to use this, but how are they gonna define it for roles within the organizations that we're at? So I leave this here for you because this was a beautiful article from Higher Education, of course. And so Dr. Volk had already talked about, like, we're heading into ethics and governance and policy and practice of this, right? And we're now getting into these places. How do we start to do this, right? And this is where we're starting with our workshops. Workshops, trainings, webinars, case studies for ourselves as faculty and staff, how to use it. Like, I wanna see the pragmatic, like, teach me how to do this. That way I have the skill to teach my students to do it as well. And then how do we teach our students to use it ethically? How do we define that for the institution? How do we define it for the fields that we are all experts in? And then what are the resources for the students? Same thing. Then how are we citing it, right? Teaching them how to cite. Use of AI case studies in class. Our engineering professor, that was just such a beautiful example of how to use it. And that's not even just a specific case study, but how are we going to use it in our fields moving forward? And then, are we teaching them the implications of future careers and impact on their industry that's currently happening right now? So that's really why we want to engage with our AI. So I bring data here, right? We're always learning, we're lifelong learners. I engaged in the AI bootcamp from Mark Cuban Foundation at the end of the spring semester. They are working with an organization called Connectago. And so they are it's a former CIO from the Silicon Valley who is teaching AI bootcamps. And so they're actually integrating this into a virtual campus. They are testing and piloting what it looks like to have a virtual campus, right? Where I have my own avatar, I go in, and then we went through the entire boot camp. Like, you had your avatar, you're sitting in lecture, you're going through libraries, and then they gave you the work to do of actually technically working with AI. So these are all out there, and I'll jump to these at the very end of what's there. But we all know our learning management systems. Who's used all of these LMS systems? I have, unfortunately, I have, right? I'm an adjunct professor for way too many decades. And so what I talked about with Connectago was that our LMS systems, right, have not even started to integrate AI technology as well. And then we had the question earlier about plagiarism, right? How do we detect this? We don't have integrations yet for AI into our LMS systems. So this is the next evolution that you're going to start to see in LMS systems because it's going to be an expectation in higher education. So that's what I've already talked to, right, these multiple organizations about. And I just share here, these are the standard features of LMSs, and we know these, but what is it going to look like when we start integrating AI and their AI-based learning platforms, right? It's gonna be starting to integrate all of these things. We started to see gamification a little bit, but now it's that content creation, content elevation. Is there real-time questions that it can create for your students? We saw our engineering professor develop these, right? But how are they gonna be able to personalize this as students, right? We have lots of online learning, but it's also gonna